People kept telling me that I was overreacting, that I was trying to be malicious or start trouble. But when I confronted my coworker Jenna about how isolated I was feeling, she didn't even try to hide her disdain. She just shrugged and said, "Maybe you should have thought about the consequences before you threw Marcus under the bus for no good reason." Then she added, in that condescending tone I'd come to hate, "Most people thought it was pretty messed up that you tried to ruin a good guy's reputation over something that was clearly innocent, even heroic. If you want things to go back to normal, you should probably just apologize to him. Publicly. Admit you were wrong." Thing is, I had started to question myself too. Part of me was already haunted by doubt. Maybe I'd misunderstood what happened. Maybe I overreacted. But another part of me held on tightly to the raw memory of that moment. The moment Marcus had pulled me out of the elevator just before I collapsed from a panic attack. He'd wrapped his arms around me, pressing my body close to his, trying to keep me from hitting the floor. And though I knew, intellectually, that he was trying to help, I hadn't consented to that kind of physical contact. Felt exposed, vulnerable, violated. Was it right to feel that way about someone trying to help me? Maybe not. But those were my feelings, and they were real. I didn't think I should have to apologize just for being uncomfortable with something that happened to my body. But none of that seemed to matter to anyone else. Weeks passed. The silence from my coworkers turned to thinly veiled hostility. Conversations would stop when I entered a room. People who used to laugh with me at lunch barely made eye contact. I began skipping the break room entirely, eating granola bars alone at my desk or outside on a bench, even in the cold. I felt like a ghost haunting my own office. Eventually I couldn't take it anymore. The tension was eating me alive. I knew I had to talk to Marcus directly, not through HR reports or whispers. I had to try to fix this, even if it meant admitting I may have gotten things wrong. So one evening, after most people had gone home, I waited by his desk as he packed up. When I approached him, I started gently. "Marcus, can we talk? I just want to clear the air. Maybe figure out how to move forward." He looked up at me, and the moment our eyes met, I knew everything had changed. There was no anger in his face. No heat at all, actually. Just this calm, cold finality. Like someone who had already made up his mind. He nodded slowly. "I get that you did what you thought you needed to do," he said. "But now I need to do what I need to do. I can't afford to ever be in that position again. I was accused of misconduct, of harming someone for trying to help. That changed everything for me." He didn't raise his voice. He wasn't dramatic. That somehow made it worse. "I'm not angry," he continued, "but I won't ever be close to you again. Not personally. Not casually. Not even friendly small talk in the hallway. Because I don't know when you might decide something I do is inappropriate again. I have to protect myself now." I tried to respond, to explain that I never meant for things to go this far, that I was overwhelmed and scared and maybe I did overreact. But he cut me off. "It doesn't matter what you meant," he said. "The damage is done. People look at me differently now. Some still wonder if there's any truth to what you said. That doesn't go away." He said from now on, he'd only communicate with me if absolutely necessary for work, and even then, only via email or in the presence of other people. No exceptions. Then he added something that has stayed with me ever since. He said, "You taught me something important about being careful who you help. About how even good intentions can backfire. If I ever see someone in distress again, I'll think twice before getting involved. Because I never want to be in this position again." I stood there stunned. It wasn't just our friendship that was gone. I had changed something fundamental in him. I'd turned a kind, helpful person into someone hesitant to act in a crisis. As I walked back to my desk, his words kept echoing in my head. Felt nauseous. Hello. I thought I had been standing up for myself, but instead I had alienated every ally I had. I wasn't empowered, I was alone. From that point on, the isolation only deepened. Marcus kept his word. Cold professionalism only. Emails, never in-person meetings. No jokes, no hellos, nothing that could be construed as personal interaction. Other coworkers followed suit. They kept me at arm's length, afraid of being associated with the woman who cried misconduct. I started eating lunch in my car just to avoid the cafeteria whispers. I applied for internal transfers, but somehow word had spread. No one wanted to inherit the HR problem. Eventually, I realized I had to leave. I started job hunting, rehearsing half-truths in my head. It wasn't the right fit. I'm looking for new challenges. I'm seeking a more collaborative culture. Anything but the truth, that I had reported someone for making me uncomfortable during a medical episode, and that it had blown up in my face. And the part that really stung. Marcus got promoted. The same people who iced me out were now celebrating him, praising his work ethic, his integrity, his leadership. They called him a stand-up guy. Hero. And maybe he was. Meanwhile, I was left trying to rebuild my life, my career, and my self-worth, with no clear idea of whether I was right or wrong. Looking back, I honestly don't know anymore. Maybe my sister was wrong to push me to report him. Maybe I was wrong to follow her advice. Maybe I did destroy a good person's career trajectory, even if he ultimately landed on his feet. Maybe I misunderstood what happened in the heat of a frightening moment. Or maybe I was just trying to protect myself the only way I knew how. What I do know is this. Speaking up cost me more than I ever imagined. And sometimes I catch myself wondering, what if I'd just said, "Thank you for helping me," and left it at that? Would things have been better? Would I still have friends? Would I still have a job? Would I still like who I see in the mirror? I don't know. And I may never know.